On this week's episode, you're going to go with us
on this year's youth hunt.
and you don't want to miss it.
And this week's management moment is one not to miss. The legacy of the sportsman is fading. Traditions are being lost. We are not just meant to live on this earth, but we are to subdue it, have dominion over it. To preserve the sport of hunting, pass on traditions to the youth. That is our legacy. The legacy of the hunting grounds.
The Hunting Grounds is brought to you by Lucky Buck, Popeyes of Northwest Arkansas, SJF Productions, Rhino Outdoors, Eagle Seed, Antler Dirt, Shaybug Design, and Hook, Line, and Sinker Outdoors.
We're very excited to come out to this 200 acres we hunted last year. We had great success last year. I got an 11 point and a doe, and I was hoping to get something just as big this year.
My best friend Heath, Mr. Fuller, and Scotty all went out this weekend, and we were hoping for great weather, and we cannot wait to get out in the stands.
This year we were hunting in the lower fields in a ground blind, but the weather was acting up. It was getting very hot and very windy, and so the deer were not moving as much.
Me, my dad, and Scotty all went up into the upper field and into the shooting house. The sunrise was beautiful, and I could see for a long distance, so when a deer steps out, I will be able to see it.
We had a lot of buck encounters, but the problem was we just couldn't get a shot. Either the deer were running too fast, or they disappeared before we could even pull up the gun. It was getting down to the last couple hours of daylight, and we were hoping to get a buck, but unfortunately nothing was presenting itself. We saw a few does, but we decided to wait it out.
Okay, so we're out here. Doe just walked up. She saw a decoy, and she's just hanging out there feeding right now. But I think we're gonna wait out and see if the buck comes. If not, we might take her. The farthest one, she's more than the oldest now. There's another one coming to the far right. Still back there in the woods, you see him?
We saw a lot of deer that night, but they did not present themselves well enough for me to get a shot.
It got down to the last few minutes of daylight, and while we were waiting for a buck, the does left. So I talked with Steve, and we decided it was time to put a stalk on those deer.
But finally, a big 8 steps out, and I was hoping this would be my opportunity.
now time for the Diggin' 365 management moment.
We're here on one of our properties that we've named the Twin Creek 60. We're going to go through the ins and outs of what we do when we acquire a new piece of property, and this is what we had to start with. Now when we started on this property, a majority of it was extremely thick, which does create a lot of good cover. But when saplings get to the size these are, they actually create enough shade that they suppress the amount of native grasses and shrubs down below. Now the native grasses and shrubs down below are what the deer like to bed up against to help retain their heat through those cold nights and through those cold winter months. Now these saplings do provide some good browse, but if they have the availability, they would rather browse on the native grasses and the shrubs down below. Now there were literally pieces of this property that were so dense that the deer didn't utilize them. Instead, they would walk through the neighboring property that had a whole lot less restriction, but by going in, creating these brush hog trails, now they're going to utilize our property instead of our neighbors. Now what we've done is all these trails direct them to the center of our property. So it's going to pull them in from other properties and make them pass right through our property, and they're all leading to our food plots. Now deer are lazy creatures, but by going in on a dense piece of property and brush hogging trails, you can change the whole way they travel through that property. Now when it came to placing food plots on the property, we decided to go with a more centralized location because we have so much hunting pressure on the bordering properties. Now like always, we decided not just to go with one food plot on the property. We went with two food plots that allows us to have a feeding food plot and a hunting food plot. Now the feeding food plot is going to be a food plot like the one behind me. It's going to have an area that the deer know that they're safe. It's going to have a year-round food source. They aren't going to have any hunting pressure at all on them until maybe late season, but it helps keep the deer on this property. Now our hunting food plot is going to be the one that we put all our hunting pressure on. It's still going to be a year-round food source, and deer are still going to utilize it, maybe not quite as much as the feeding plot, but they're still going to be in there, and it's going to benefit us greatly throughout the hunting season. Now we are going to check the pH level of this soil. The thing is, it's very inaccessible to get any kind of large trucks up here to get the amount of fertilizer that we need for this food plot. So we're going to check the pH, and if we have to, we'll carry bags of lime up here and hand spread it and hopefully neutralize the pH of this soil. Now what I think is one of the most important things you can do to any kind of small acreage to ensure that you can have deer there year-round is to go in, create and establish sanctuary areas. These are going to be areas on your property that are already natural bedding areas that you never put any kind of hunting pressure on. Now once you've established those sanctuary areas, you can go in and improve them like we've done on our property. You can go in, do a select timber stand improvement, take out those non-desirable trees, really open up that canopy space, go in, do a prescribed burn, take the fuel off the forest floor, it's going to allow that sunlight to really come in, hit that forest floor, and that area is going to grow up really thick, create some great bedding area, and again, it's going to create some great browse, which is pretty much a year-round food plot.
But finally, a big 8 steps out, and I was hoping this would be my opportunity.
After we crawled out of the blind, we crawled down to the creek and then belly crawled up the creek bed. And after a few moments of adjusting, it was time to take a shot.
Hold that. The one by the tree. Far right. Do you see it? Yeah. The one that's parallel to us. Got tired of sitting in the blind. Not much activity. We see about 5 does down here. So we decided we're gonna go take a gamble and stalk them. We crawl up here, get position, take a shot. Maybe we got dough. We put a stalk on a deer. That's pretty cool. 2 people, you, me filming, that works out.
Even the hunting wasn't the best this weekend and the weather wasn't just right. Managed to walk away with a doe, and it was my very first time to stalk a deer, which is very exciting. And overall this weekend, I learned a lot and had a great time with family and friends, and I'm really excited to go out next year.
I enjoyed my time out there. I enjoyed hanging with my friends and family and having some great food. I'm hoping to get out there next season and get one.
Well, that's it for this week's episode. I hope you guys enjoyed it and I hope you guys took something away from it. Guys, if you aren't following us on Facebook, be sure to look us up on Facebook as The Huntin' Grounds. And until next time, go out of your way to get a youth or a new hunter involved in the outdoors. And as always, have a better than average day.
To learn more about the Hunting Grounds, be sure to check out our Facebook page and our website at thehuntinggrounds.com. And be sure to follow us at Twitter at THGTV.
Music for the Huntin' Grounds is provided by Brian Matthew Ellis.
On this week's episode, you're gonna go with us, and you didn't do it. This week's episode, you're gonna go with us.
Okay, start over. Keith has to.
Thanks, Huntin' Ground crew. Can you say it or not? Can you say it or not?
Wash my hand when it goes down.
Okay. It started playing.
So awkward.